Hey everyone, and welcome back. Super excited for you to be here today because we are taking the lavender seeds out of the freezer. It has been 2 weeks officially since we put them back in, and these are going to be the American seeds that I got from the dollar store. I am going to be using these more as a perennial herb for my flower garden. So not so much to be cutting and using as an herb, but more for the fragrance to get the pollinators into my garden. And I just really love the color and the smell of it. So we are going to go ahead and get them into some seed trays, get them under a humidity dome, and then see how long they take to germinate. Now, last year, I basically gave up on my lavender seeds because I'm like, what the heck is happening? It has been so long and they haven't even germinated yet. Little did I know, even though that I probably skipped reading the back of the seed packet, they take a long time to germinate. So we have to have patience. That is why I'm going to be putting them in these smaller 6-cell trays instead of the 40 that I have or the 15, because I actually don't need too many, and I will thin them out later if I do heavily sow them. And then that way they won't be taking up a whole 40-cell tray. I can use those for something else, and that way if they do take longer, they can stay on the heat mat and I won't have to worry about them until they are ready to be either potted up or to go outside. So hopefully, if they do want to take those, 2 to 4 weeks, they are more than welcome to do so. All right, so first, just to go over how I did get these to cold stratify, I did put them between a damp paper towel. I just took a plain paper towel and I took my spray bottle and I just had it nice and damp. And then I went ahead and put the seeds in between, folded in half, put it in a Ziploc bag, and then I literally just tossed it in the freezer and forgot about it. But I did mark it on my calendar that this was the weekend that I was supposed to pull them out. So the instructions on the back said to put them in the freezer for 2 weeks. Normally when I go ahead and do this, I put them in the fridge, but I figured why not? I'm just gonna go ahead and listen to the instructions. And this is what they look like after 2 weeks, which was great in the freezer because I didn't have any mold or any spotting around the seeds like I had with my echinacea plants, or seeds I should say, sorry. And I had to go ahead and switch out the echinacea paper towel because it was starting to get little red spots around the seeds, and I actually did lose some because they're a little bit too damp to mold. So coming straight out of the freezer, they look pretty darn good. So like I said, I took them out probably like an hour or so ago, and we will pluck those off and get them into the dirt. All right, so I actually already pre-moistened my seed starting mix, and everything that you do plant, you want to make sure it has good drainage. This already has perlite in it, so I actually didn't add any more. With winter sowing, I kind of did add some more just because of the fact that they were being housed in those milk jugs for so long, and the weather can be kind of unpredictable. But with this, I just left it as is. I put water, and you want to make sure that when you squeeze it, it holds its form, but it's not going to be dripping a bunch of water droplets from it. So lavender seeds do need light to germinate, so I'm going to go ahead, I'm going to fill these all the way to the top. I'm going to then push them down just to make sure there's no air pockets, add in any more soil that I might have to have just to top it off, and then I'm going to go ahead and put the lavender seeds on top, and I'm going to put some of my burpee vermiculite, so that way it will be able to get the light that it needs in order to germinate. So I think I'll probably do, I don't know, maybe 12 of these, just so that way I can use all the seeds, and then I can always go ahead and thin them out. Last year I put them in little 3-inch pots to start off with. So again, by the way, I just go ahead and squish it. And these are just clear ones that I had from last year. I think they were on sale, that's why I ended up getting the clear ones. But I actually did save a bunch from going to plant nurseries. All right, so these are going to be pushed in, and then I'm going to go ahead and just level this out, and then just make sure, sometimes there's like bigger pieces in there, and there we have it. So I'm going to do 2 of these, but you can use anything that you want. Like I said, I kind of just let them be, and then I said, heck with this, they are not germinating, and I actually put the 3-inch pots outside for, I couldn't even tell you how long, and I totally forgot about them. And then the next thing I know, I actually had some lavender shooting up out of them. So I just put them in as the whole pot and called it a day. And then I had one nice little lavender plant for all of my 2024 gardening. And I just happened to love the smell. Even though it was like the tiniest little plant, it just smelled so, so good. So I want to go ahead and put those around with my perennial garden. So now we have 2 of these. So I'm going to go ahead and move my tray of dirt, and we are going to go ahead and get the seeds inside. All right, so now we're going to go ahead, and I'm going to go ahead and take some of these seeds, and I am going to sprinkle them, if I can grab them, on top. And I am just going to go ahead and put a few in each cell. Now, I might not use all of them, but that's okay, because I could always go ahead. It says you can put them in for 2 to 4 weeks. All right, now everything is going to be in there, so I'm just going to go ahead and lightly coat them with some vermiculite, because again, they do need light to germinate. So I am just going to go ahead and sprinkle a very fine dusting on top, just to help with moisture control, since they will be in the humidity domes for so long. And this is a very fine grain of it. All right, and then we are going to go ahead and lightly mist them in. So we went ahead and we plucked off as many as I could from the paper towel. Then I went ahead and just lightly coated both of them with some of my burpee vermiculite. And then I just took this spray bottle, it's a mister, and sprayed everything on top just so that way everything was settled and pushed in. And then we're going to go ahead, get it on the heat mat. It says that you should put it around 70 degrees Fahrenheit. And again, it can take up to 2 to 4 weeks to germinate. You want to also make sure that it does have light to germinate. So I'm going to go ahead and put the lights on overhead, probably about like 1 inch or 2 over the heat dome. So let's go ahead and get them all tucked in. We have the lavender seeds in a tray right now. I went ahead and put the probe in so that way my heat mat can stay at a consistent 70 degrees. So I'm going to go ahead and change that now. So you just hold on to this. And it looks like it was at 70 degrees from previous, so I'm just going to go ahead and leave it. And then that way it will stay at a consistent, right now it's 66. It is going to go ahead and start warming up. I'm going to go ahead and put the dome on top nice and gently because I do not want that to pop out. So this is going to stay here for 2 to 4 weeks. I am going to go ahead and put more on the heat mat since it's going to be on, and keeping it at a 70 degrees because I feel like most things need 70 degrees. And these are the racks right now. And then I do have my echinacea and my hollyhock seeds under some lights. And I had some really good success with all of my Baker Creek and Seed Colt seeds. So that is just a little update. And I am loving this little setup right now. Okay, so now that we have them on a heat mat at 70 degrees Fahrenheit, we have the humidity domes in, they are all tucked in, the grow lights are on. You're gonna want those grow lights to be on anywhere between 12 to 16 hours a day, just to help so that way they got the light that they need. And then for watering, super important. So what I like to do until I see germination is I just use this mister the whole entire time, or a spray bottle, whichever you have on hand is great. Instead of watering overhead with a watering can. That way you won't be moving the seeds around and then they won't get waterlogged. My rule of thumb is that I am going to try my very best and not overwater things. As soon as they start to germinate, I am going to try and let everything just kind of dry out. I find that's about every other day or so right now. And then I always bottom water. I will just go ahead and put maybe half of an inch or so on the bottom tray. I will let them sit there for about 30 to 45 minutes. I will go back and then I will dump all the excess water out, which is super important because you do not want root rot and you don't want to be losing all of your seedlings. So I feel like it's better to go ahead, especially with perennials, to let them kind of just dry out before watering them again. And you can do that by either just picking up the tray and feeling that it's so much lighter than it is once you water it, or you can just go ahead and test it. I find that if it is just like a little bit damp, I will just leave it be until it's starting to get a little bit dry at the top. And then that way, root rot hopefully won't be happening with all of your little seedlings. Also, once your seedlings have their first set of true leaves or about a few inches tall, you're gonna wanna go ahead and pot them up. I will usually use about a 3-inch little pot, and I will switch, instead of seed starting mix, I will go over to potting soil, and I actually like to use a little bit more perlite into my potting soil. I found that it'll just help with drainage, especially if you kind of are like me last year and you're a little bit into overwatering. So you're gonna wanna go ahead and pot them up, and of course it is also super important that you harden them off before you get them outside. I generally like to use about 5, 6, 7 days to harden them off, starting in the shade for a few hours, bringing them back in. And for me, unfortunately, that is the second floor. So it is a bit of a process, but well worth it because you do not want to have some shock and then losing all of your seedlings. So I just go ahead and put them outside in the shade, like I said, protected from the wind for a few hours, bring them back in. Repeat this process again the next day for say 4 to 6 hours, bring them back in, and then try and move to maybe a little bit more of a sunnier spot where for half the day they get maybe some sun and some shade. Bring them back in, then give them like a full day outside if you can. And then I always want to see if they will survive overnight before I go ahead and put them into the soil. And there you have it. That is how you go ahead and seed start lavender seeds. I hope you find this super helpful. Thank you so much again for joining me. And if you could go ahead and subscribe and like this video, that would mean the world to me. And that way you'll know next time when I have another seed starting video posted or anything about winter sowing, because pretty soon we're going to be having a lot of things growing in my, what I like to call my indoor greenhouse in my bedroom. So thanks again, and I will see you next time. Bye.